Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Let's Talk F1 YouTube channel. This is the first ever episode, and it's a very good start to the channel as it is after the British Grand Prix, my home race. Well, as a Brit, most eager of races I wanted to watch, and also as a McLaren fan and a slight Mercedes fan, but mainly McLaren. A very good day, and England beat Australia in the Ashes today, so I've had a very good day personally. But onto the F1, I'm just going to go through some topics about the race, go through the race, and discuss my opinions off the top of my head. No scripting or no script to tell me what to say, pretty much, as you can tell. Yeah, first of all, I wanted to say McLaren, very good race from them, getting a P2 and a P4. I think it was 30 points in total, if I can do maths. Yeah, 30 points. Takes them ahead of Alpine, who had an absolute mare in their technically home race, because the French Grand Prix is not here anymore. Thank God for that. So yeah, their home race, they had a stinker. But onto McLaren, very encouraging. We've gone to two tracks, Austria and Silverstone. Austria more of a medium to high speed, and then Silverstone a high speed track. Then going to Budapest, Hungary in 2 weeks' time. I think we have a week off, and then it's Budapest. That will see how quick this McLaren is in a very low high downforce track. Even though Silverstone is quite high downforce, Hungary, some say, is Monaco without the barriers, so you'll need a lot of downforce, and that downforce package worked very well. Like through Maggots and Beckett's, they were 2 to 3 tenths quicker than the Mercedes and nearly on par with Red Bull, so that aero package was very good for them. But yeah, very encouraging for McLaren just to see how all of a sudden their pace has become brilliant. They were comfortably the second quickest car today, ahead of the Aston, the Merc, and the Ferrari, which is pretty embarrassing for all those teams, just to see how quickly they've been beaten by McLaren. And without that safety car, I think it would have been a double podium for McLaren. But arguably, I want to say this, Lando did get a little bit lucky with the safety car in terms of being behind Oscar, because Oscar pit actually quite early compared to what Lando was going to do, because I think he would have stayed out an extra couple of laps, and Oscar pit early and would have got ahead of him if Lando pit before the safety car. So in terms of that would have been quite interesting to see, because Oscar would have been ahead, I believe, if the gap was enough for Oscar to be ahead at that point. So that would have been interesting to see if the safety car didn't go out, what that would have meant for Oscar and Lando's races, because I definitely think they both had the pace to be on the podium. I think every driver has said this in their interview, well, most of them, like Russell and Norris, well, that's the ones I've only seen, but both of them was like they were really gutted for Oscar, because I think Oscar Piastri, he qualified P3. He had a very good start. I think he had the best start out of everybody, nearly ahead of Verstappen into turn 1, and was side by side with him at Cops, but he backed out, using his IQ there. A very mature driver for a rookie is very impressive. Been very impressive the whole season. But yeah, his best race in the McLaren, P4, should have been a podium, but I guess it is bittersweet because they knew the car was quick, but it's disappointing to finish P4. He said this as well. He's annoyed about finishing P4. So that is a very encouraging thing for McLaren, because they were struggling to get into the points most of the races, and they've had just such a good turnaround, which is very impressive. But the dream for Lando, getting a podium in his home Grand Prix, starting on the front row, leading the Grand Prix for 4 or 5 laps, I think it was. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, led a few laps. Had very good pace, which was obviously the big talking point. He had very, very good pace compared to Verstappen, who was about probably 3 to 4 tenths quicker per lap after the DRS, after he lost DRS, because I don't think anyone expected Lando to keep with him the entire race, because that Red Bull is just in a league of its own. But yeah, that is a big point of notice for Red Bull, that the pack is catching up. They had a record Red Bull, which I'll go into after I speak about McLaren, which is a very big milestone for Red Bull. But yeah, no one expected Lando to keep with Max the whole race and challenge him for the win. But yeah, it was a very good race for McLaren. I think I've said enough. As a very biased McLaren fan, I'm going to move on to talk about the Red Bull in general. A very big milestone, 11 wins in a row. They've had 10 wins this year, and they won in Abu Dhabi, obviously, in that last season. So they matched McLaren's record of 11 straight wins in a row, and they can break it, and probably will break it in Budapest, because that Red Bull is just so far ahead of everybody else. And yeah, it will be a struggle for anyone to catch that Red Bull by the end of the year. Yeah, Verstappen wins again. Perez got lucky with the safety car. I think he finished P7 in the end, he finished P6. Decent amount of points from 15th actually, because Bottas he started from last because he didn't have a fuel sample, so he had to start from the back. Yeah, a decent recovery drive from Perez, but Max just incredible, to be honest. Very, very impressive. Just the way he is with that car is outrageous. Just so far ahead of everybody else. He's not finished off the podium all year. He's won 6 in a row. I think the championship is the championship's over already. He's nearly 200 points ahead of his teammate, or 100 points ahead of his teammate. I think it's 200, which is a joke. He would be leading the constructors on his own, which is just outrageous. That Red Bull car is one of the most dominant cars in Formula One history, and them winning every race this year it can definitely happen, because reliability's been good from everyone this season most of the time. We haven't seen too many retirements apart from Australia, but Australia was a mental race. There was like 8 DNFs or something like that. It was a very hectic Grand Prix. But yeah, Red Bull, very, very impressive as always. Not really much to talk about apart from their big record, which is very substantial. I think that's gone a bit under the radar because everyone's talking about the McLarens. It's funny that McLaren and Red Bull in that conversation this weekend, and Red Bull tied McLaren's record from their Senna Prost days. But yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about Alpine. No points for Alpine today. 2 DNFs, double DNF. Gasly was in the fight for points. He was with Stroll. Very weird incident, because it was turn 14 or 13, I believe, where Stroll tried to go around the outside of Gasly, and Gasly just gave Stroll no room, and Stroll ended up overtaking him off the track, and then Stroll got a 5-second penalty or 10-second penalty. I think it was a 5-second, but I think Gasly was so in the wrong. He gave Stroll no room. I think Stroll deserved some space, a lot more than he was given anyway, because Gasly was not letting him get around the outside. We saw that in France in 2021, I believe it was. It was him and Norris. Gasly was just not having it. He's done that a few times now. He refuses to let people go around the outside of him, which could be a good thing, because he's not a weak driver. Doesn't let anyone go through. especially around the outside. He doesn't want to be humiliated, I guess. But Alpine having a stinker. They've been overtaken now by McLaren. They've been well and truly embarrassed by their biggest competitor this season, because it was the top four teams, probably minus Stroll, and then everyone else. It was the two Alpines in the points, and then like P10 or 9 was up for grabs every race, because the Alpines were ahead of the rest, but so far off the top four teams, bar Stroll, because Stroll's had a really bad year, considering the car he has. It's been quite a poor year. He's like 2 points behind Lando now, I think, in 8th or 9th, which is quite embarrassing to be blunt. That car has gone down, but the start of the season, that was the second quickest car. You can see Alonso, he's third in the championship, and he said he would finish on the podium every race, and that car has just taken a bit of I'd say it's plateaued, or even got worse from the upgrades, but everyone else has jumped them. I think the Ferrari's quicker, the Merc's definitely quicker, and now the McLaren was quicker in Silverstone, but we'll see in Hungary if that was just a one-off or a two-off, because they were slow in Austria as well. But yeah, Aston Martin, not great. Alpine, rubbish. Haas, again, no race pace. Hulkenberg got unlucky, had to change his front wing. I think he started on the hards, and it just ruined his strategy completely, because he was going to probably go long and probably fit the soft tyre, but he got damaged. I can't remember. It was Perez. It was Perez who he had contact with, and he just had to change his front wing. And Hulkenberg, Magnussen had an engine failure that brought out the safety car, which proper spiced up the race. But yeah, Haas they've been good in qualifying, especially with Hulkenberg, but really bad in the race. They just have no race pace at all, and their tyre degradation is really, really bad. They really need to get on top of that, because they've been overtaken by Williams, who I am going to get into it after this, but they have been overtaken by them due to Albon finishing P7 in Canada, so it's the highest grid, higher position finished. But yeah, Haas really needs to get on top of their race pace and find a resolution for their good pace in qualifying, especially with Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg's had, I think, more Q3s than Sergio Perez this year, which is embarrassing. That might be wrong, but I don't actually know. I think I saw that somewhere, because Perez had another stinker in qualifying. Because Hulkenberg got out of Q1, he qualified 11th, and Perez qualified 16th, which is so poor. Even though he went up first, in that car you should be at least in Q3. Like, come on, man. You should be P2 minimum, let alone getting into Q2. Like, come on. Right, let's move on to the second team of the day, Williams. Very, very impressive. Their pace, very, very good, very encouraging. A P8 for Albon, and a P11 for Sargent. Best race finish for Sargent. Very, very happy for him. Unfortunately, he didn't get any points, but he's just still a little bit off the pace to score points. But Albon, very, very impressive again. Tremendous race from Alex. But 8th was their worst finishing position of the weekend, which is incredible to say for Williams, because they've like third and second in practice, which is tremendous. And the job James Vowles has done, I think, has gone really, really under the radar. Coming from Mercedes, never been a team principal before, never been in a role of similar to team principal, to come into a struggling Williams, a down Williams, a very low morale Williams. He has lifted their heads tremendously, and the floor was a big talking point. Sorry, my phone's going off. Apologies. The floor was a big issue, and I don't know what they brought to Austria and here, but my God, well done to whoever made up those upgrades, because I think Williams they've had an awful few years, terrible years, and they've got a very well-spoken, honest team principal who has a very, very large brain, which is very good for a team principal to have a big brain. I'm guessing he's done a few things just to lift the team spirit, because the work he's done is so impressive, and he's so well spoken. I've said this to many people that are connected to, well, not connected to F1, but I talk to F1 about. He's just so well spoken for a rookie team principal. We can say incredible how he's so honest, so well spoken to when in interviews and stuff like that. Tremendous job from James Vowles. Any interesting other topics? The hard tyre for McLaren, very weird. I was so upset when Lando came into the pits. It's like, soft tyres. We're gonna hopefully try get around Verstappen and maybe get a win, maybe get a shock win. And then I saw the hard tyre, and I was speechless for about 2 minutes. I was flabbergasted. But that car, man, wow. It had a very good battle with Lewis. I must say, that was a tremendous battle between the two Brits. Very good battle from those two. But the hard tyre, I don't know what, I don't know who came up with that, but yeah, it worked out for them. But I think it would have made Lando and Oscar's life, or especially Lando's life, a lot easier if they put him onto the soft tyre. But I don't actually know if they had softs. I'm guessing they did, but it was like 60% into the race. So why would you go onto the hard tyre for the last 40 or whatever it was, the last 40% of the race? It very bizarre, but hey, it worked out for them. They got a P2 and a P4, and that car can fire up their tyres, so that helped them. If that was a Merc, or say, my God, they would have if they had Merc level of tyre warm up, they would have been doomed. But it worked out for them. So yeah, I think that's all the main stuff covered. No any other massive things. Go over the minor topics. Alfa Romeo, nowhere to be seen. They went quiet as usual. Nothing to talk about. AlphaTauri again. Same with Alfa Romeo. Nowhere to be seen. Nothing happened. I don't even know where they finished, to be honest. I think it was probably like P14 and 15. So probably something like that, because there was 3 DNFs. They might have finished last. Don't know. I'm going to be honest. Don't really care. They're changing team name, I think, next year. I don't know. Something like that. Am I missing a team? I feel like I am. Ferrari. Meh. Very meh race. Battling a Williams. Kind of embarrassing, to be honest. Yep, they weren't as quick as I thought they were going to be. Yeah, off the pace. I don't think their strategy was that bad. Very mid race for them. Very mid. Merc, 3rd, 5th, decent. Nothing to ride home about, but decent. Good race pace as usual, bad quality pace as usual. Yeah, very expected race from Merc, let's say. Good in the race, bad in qualifying. Ferrari fell back. Alpine I've talked about. Haas I've talked about. I feel like I'm missing a team. Williams, yep. AlphaTauri, yep. Alfa Romeo. Yeah, we're done. Yeah, I've talked about everything. Any driver changes? Russell overtook Leclerc. Yep. Russell overtook Leclerc in the Drivers' Championship. Lando went to 9th with 42 points, I believe. 42. And then Stroll's 44, which is very bad from Stroll, may I add. You got a 5-second penalty, so you finished like 14th in the race or something like that. A very poor race, but Aston just had no pace in general. But yeah, I think that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Just a little what would you call this? A post race review. Just a bit of a waffle session. Off the top of my head, it's about 2-3 hours after the race. I had some food. Got my heart rate down as I'm a big McLaren fan. My heart was racing the whole race. No pun intended. Sorry for that. Yeah, this is an awful outro. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. Yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. I don't know what it will be, but hey, I'll see you guys in the next video.